Hi, and welcome to another episode of Upward Trajectory. Today, I'm so excited to have with us Susan Wheeler. She is the author of The Lemonade Diet. Thank you so much, Susan, for being here.
Thanks for having me, Jen.
Great. So we were talking a couple weeks ago, and I just loved your story. I loved hearing, what got you up to the point of writing this book, and I was hoping you could share that with the audience.
Sure. So the book released in March, and last year I wrote diligently, and it's been sort of a project in my head and in my heart for years. Reason being is I found that so many people are stuck in the past or in their problems or in their worries or their fears, and they don't really know how to let go, or even that they should let go and move on. And that was really my the book is my stories of things that I've gotten through, and I really wanted to show people that my stories are no different, only the names have changed, right? So I wanted people to understand that you can let go and you can live your best life. And really, it doesn't matter how old you are. If you have a pulse, you have a purpose.
Yeah, and I completely resonate and agree with you that we're so many people are just stuck in life, and you can just say so many different reasons as to why, but the reality and the root of it is we're just stuck in life, and we know we're stuck, but we don't know what to do next. I was hoping maybe you could share one of your stories that that you share in the book. Is there a small tidbit that you could share with us?
Sure, there's lots of stories. I will share how I became a runner. How's that?
Great.
So a friend of mine had gotten diagnosed with cancer, and she was pregnant at the time with her third son. And it was a pretty aggressive form of breast cancer. And I wanted to support her in some way through my own misery and being depressed at what she was going through. So a lot of girls will shave their heads in unison, sisterhood kind of thing. And I didn't want anyone to think I was sick. But back when I was 34, about 6 years before this had happened, I had a terrible accident. And I broke all my ribs, I shattered my pelvis, I broke my back. It was a pretty horrendous
Wow.
accident. So 6 years later, as this was happening with my girlfriend, I thought, what could I do to support her? And like I said, I didn't want to shave my head because I didn't want people to look at me and think I was sick. They wouldn't have known the real reason for my baldness. So I decided to do something really difficult for me because she was going through something very difficult, being pregnant, going through chemo. And I decided to run a 7-mile road race in my town that I was a cheerer on the sidelines for years. And in about 4 weeks, I trained, and
Oh
I use
my.
that term lightly, from being so severely injured and arthritic and whatnot to doing this race. And I wasn't a runner, so I thought, well, I'm just going to get through it, whatever it takes. Walk, run, crawl, however I need to get to the finish line. And I knew it would be tough, and it was, but doing that one race completely changed my life. And I did it in about an hour and 12 minutes, which is pretty respectable for a 7-mile race
That's great.
with a beginner, right?
Yeah.
Of course, now when I run that race, bragging rights is you have to be under an hour. You have to be under an hour. But I was thrilled I wasn't last. And I went on from there to become a marathon runner, an ultra marathon runner. And it really, and not only did it change my mindset and empower me in many ways, but it also changed my body, because the more I moved, the better I felt. And when you're in that place, you feel as though you need to heal, and you need to be calm, and you need to be sitting, and you need to be careful. And so I kind of went out and did it. My family was thinking, what is wrong with you? And I knew I wasn't going to hurt myself because I wasn't trying to win the race. I was just trying to complete the course. So it doing that, having that greater why, because I probably I'd still be sitting there if I didn't have a reason to do that. And once I did it and felt so great, I just knew that that was something that was helpful. So in doing that, that's one of my stories that I tell.
I love that story. And I love
Thanks.
that when you put your mind to something, that's the biggest hurdle. That's the biggest step, is just saying, like, mentally, okay, I'm going to do this. I don't know how, but I'm going to do it. I'm making it a goal and I'm going to get there somehow. And I love that you were able to do that, and that you were able to help a friend and show her that you were going to go through something grueling for yourself to be there as a friend alongside her. That's incredible. So let's talk a little bit about the book. So, this is so needed right now. I think in this whole pandemic time, people are just feeling, weighed down. They're feeling stuck. They're not knowing what to do. They're wanting life to go back, but we have no idea when or how that's going to look. And it's causing a lot of fear and uncertainty and anxiety. And I'd love to hear some things that maybe you have in terms of tips or ways that people can kind of start to get back into life and start to overcome these adversities.
Absolutely. That's a great topic to talk about, especially now. We really need to live in the moment. And what I
Absolutely.
love about you and what attracted me to you was gratitude. And when we're worrying about the past or wondering about the future, we're not in the present, being grateful for where we are and what we have. And there's so much that we can't control. And it's important to just stay in your lane and do the things that you can do. I turn off the news. People will talk a lot about, I'm big on social media, and people will talk a lot about wanting to get off of social media. I personally don't see negativity on social media because I don't see it. I don't allow it. And what you focus on, you find.
Yes.
And it really, this little tip and trick, I tell people to think about something, whatever it is, just pick anything and focus on that. It could be a blue chicken, right? I'm really going out there. But if you focus on something, you're going to find it. I love hearts. I just love them. And I see them everywhere in nature. It's kind of like finding that four-leaf clover. They're there, but we're walking all over the grass and we never see them because we're not focusing on looking for them. So it's important to know where your focus is. And if you're focusing on worry and hate and lack, then that's what you will find. But
Oh, I love that.
if you're focusing on hope and things that inspire you and things that are going to move you forward, that's what you will find.
That's so true. What you focus on expands. And I love that. So you find hearts everywhere because you love them and you look for them.
I do. I find rocks that are hearts. I find leaves that are hearts. I find all kinds of things out in nature. I'm on the trails all the time. I see hearts everywhere.
Oh,
And
that's
this is a
great.
really cool story. One day the sun was shining through my bedroom window and there was a heart on the floor. I
Oh,
couldn't find anywhere that there would be a heart, a reason for that heart. But yeah, it was crazy. I took a picture and sent it to my daughter and I said, "You're not going to believe this." She said, "I believe it. I believe it,
ah,
Mom."
that's amazing. And I so believe that. Like, when you want to find something and you truly believe that you will, you do. And the, obstacles, they melt away when you focus and you keep your focus positive. Um, so people that are really dealing with, a lot right now, a lot bogging them down, do you have any, just any lifestyle tips that they can add into their life? Any other tips that you can think of?
Sure. I like to tell people start your day off very regimented because a lot of people, the hardest thing for people is to get out of bed. The snooze, the anxiety of what the day is going to bring. Most people don't jump, yeah, they don't jump out of bed excited to start their day. So getting up, and I immediately make my bed. And sometimes the dog is still in it. He's not ready to get up. I make it with him. He's a little thing, and I make the bed, and he'll crawl out when he's ready. But it's so important to have your morning routine. I get up, I make my bed, I have my coffee, I read for 10 to 20 minutes, whatever I have time for. I exercise. So I don't get up in the morning and turn on the news and check my email. I I take care of myself and
Yeah.
spend time with my dogs and talk to my husband. But I like to keep, I think, a morning routine, because that's how your day begins. And
So,
if you can start on a good note, then the rest will
yeah.
follow.
And you're describing a morning routine too, where you intentionally buffer out any potential negative from coming in. So you have your time and you have your routine that is, you will not allow negative to seep into it, which is so important to set the pace of the day. And I wholeheartedly agree with you. Gratitude's a great time to bring that in. Right when you open your eyes in the morning, just, taking a deep breath and thankfulness for another day, another chance to, to go do it again if you're going through something difficult, or anything that you can be grateful for right first thing in the morning. um,
Absolutely.
so let's your book, I really, it resonated with me. I love that we are all dealt adversities in life, and we all need to literally turn lemons into lemonade. So I really like the title of your book. And I was just curious in terms of, seeing adversity in a different light. It's really difficult for people to do that, because, the negative is just, our mindset just goes there. And do you have any tips, and, when life does throw you the lemons, to kind of flip that around and say, okay, I'm going to look at this in a different way?
Absolutely. I like to look back. I encourage people to look back and see what happened and then where they are now, and look at how things would be different. So for example, I have a beautiful family. I have 4 children, and I say children, they're all adults now. My youngest is 18. I have 7 grandchildren. And when I was 16, my dad died suddenly. He was 49 years old, and he had a heart attack.
I'm
I
sorry.
had gone off to work, and I was not very nice to him, a 16-year-old bratty teenage girl. And it wasn't anything big. It was just me being obnoxious. But I never got the chance
Oh,
to apologize. And it was sudden. He just had a massive heart attack. So there was he wasn't sick and bad, and we knew that something was inevitable. And it was a really tough time for me, because not just losing him, which was huge, first loss of my life, but the fact that the way we had parted, it was really
circumstances.
hard for me to come to terms with. So I worked through that. I talk about that in the book, and I look back. So there are people in a similar situation, and I've talked to people that have lost someone, and same kind of thing, that they regretted their last moments together. There was no chance to apologize. And fast forward, well, not fast, but many years later, they're still looking back, and oh, they're just not good with it. So and wishing things had been different. You really have to, I don't wish that my dad died when I was 16, but it
Of course.
happened.
Yeah.
And I am the person I am today because of it. I wouldn't have the 4 children, the exact 4 children that I have. I wouldn't have the exact grandchildren. I wouldn't live where I do. Everything would have been different. So you have to understand that when things happen, and things are going to happen, and life will hand me many more lemons. But I have to realize this is the course of my life, and take those lemons and like I say, make lemonade. Lemons in and of themselves, pretty, but they do rot after a bit. You can't just keep them forever. You have to do something with them, right? So it's important to realize that when things happen, you have to make the best of it. There's no other choice, because if you live in that place, you might as well just give up.
Yeah, and the conscious effort to not get stuck. It's probably a daily thing to just remind yourself, hey, this is out of my control. It's in the past. I need to move on. I need to stay positive. I need to focus on what's going forward, not what's behind me.
Absolutely. I have in the back of my book an acronym for the Lemonade Diet, and it lists all the things that, each letter, let it go, decide, no excuses, things like that. So I talk about the steps, my best 12 tips for being able to let go and move forward.
Oh, that's great. And remind us the title of your book again, the full title.
It's The Lemonade Diet, and it's how to persist, persevere, and make lemonade when life hands you lemons. So many people think that they're going to, lose 20 pounds or something. No. It's a mindset diet.
Well, they could if that was one of their goals.
They could, but not just drinking lemonade.
Right. So, and is it available on Amazon?
It's available on Amazon and my website, susanvwheeler.com. And that's where I have my blog, and that's kind of where I do my thing and put up my podcasts. Yours will be up there. So, right. And there's a link through Amazon, but that's the best way to get it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Susan. I love talking about this subject, especially now. Anytime you can talk about overcoming adversity, I think that a lot of people can benefit from it. So thank you so much for being on.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you. And please join us again for another episode of Upward Trajectory soon. Take care.